Good evening. It is I, Ron Carr. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. There are very many things going on in our lives at this time. Some things seem to be happening over and over again. You think you have finished something and it comes back at you in a different way. It is the universe just resetting itself. I know most of you were probably tired already of hearing some of the political campaigning and speech that has been going on. And this, of course, will continue for another month or so, for all of October. I guess it's about 6 weeks in your time, 7 weeks, before you will get an end to all these advertisements and all the politicizing of life. It's important for you at this time to remain as centered as you can in your own self and look at your own life, not to allow yourself to get pulled away into some of the politics of the day or some of the news stories, where they can help you or influence you to lose your center of yourself. It is easy sometimes when you are on the earth plane to be swept up into the emotions that are going on around you. Knowing that politicians make emotional pleas to you. They say emotional things to either frighten you from what they don't want you to know or to understand or believe, and to also persuade you of their good intentions. Many of these things are just words. It is done to influence you. And if you keep your center and your ideas and don't listen to the circus that they sometimes can create around you and in your ideas and in your mind, you keep yourself centered on what do you feel it is you want in this life, in what you need to make yourself happy. For all happiness is found within yourself. So it is just your state of mind. But sometimes, in order to be in the right state of mind to create happiness for yourself, you need to be centered in your own being. You need to know what is good for you. What do you think will be the best for the world? Don't listen to some of the slogans that will be put forth for you to be hoping to influence you. Try not to listen to those short phrases that are carefully crafted to bring about the greatest emotional response in yourself. And try to keep your own head and your own mind and your own thoughts. And then you will be able to evaluate things more. I want to say use the word academically, but that is not the right word to use. That you can compare what you know and what you have seen and use those criteria in making your decisions, not what people are claiming they will do. Or the truth of the matter is that no one in these races has the individual power to create what they say they will create. They are but one of many that must come together. And so you need to evaluate individuals who are seeking your vote and your support as to the people they are. For those that are incumbents, you have an idea of what they have done as a reason to decide for whether you will vote for them or not this time. Have they kept their word from things they said in the past? Did their party affiliations do the kind of things you wanted to have done? Or has there been difficulty right along? It does not matter what I say. It does not matter what they say they will do. look for your understanding of who they are and what they stand for and what they have done in the past and how they have voted. When it comes to new people, well, then you need to evaluate what others say about them and to look into their writings to try. But it is more difficult to evaluate some of the new candidates that are coming simply because they do not, you have nothing to look at in their past. But for some, you can see what they have done in the past and draw conclusions from their actions that you can discover. So in this confusing time, when you are asked to make decisions, it is good to reserve your thinking, to listen, to make note of, and at some other time, then consider the things that you have seen and heard and make your decisions on what you think is best for yourself as well as best for your country. And so in this way, you will contribute your wisdom and your knowledge to bringing about the best coalitions of people together who will then work for the betterment of the country and yourselves. I do not wish this to be a political evening, but I felt it was necessary to mention this discussion due to the step up in rhetoric that is beginning to happen already because you are coming closer and closer to your decision times. So do remain centered. Do not respond to the emotional aspects of what you are hearing and use objective criteria as best you can to make your decisions. So, are there questions on other subjects that someone would like to ask me in this evening?
Yes, if you don't mind, I was furloughed from my full-time job and I was just offered to come back, but instead of being full-time, just to be 2 to 3 hours a week, maybe. And so I'm thinking about giving up this job, and I just want to know, is this the right direction?
Well, obviously, I cannot make that decision for you. It should not give you advice as to what decision you should make, because that decision is for yourself. And it is a fairly simple one, the way it has been phrased. You have been offered 2 to 3 hours of work a week at a job you have performed for many years and are very familiar with. Do you miss your former working, or you have been furloughed? Do you miss doing what you did?
No.
Would you like to go back? Oh, you do not miss it. It was a ready answer. And so that makes your decision quite simple, because I am sure the amount of money you will be receiving for 2 to 3 hours a week of employment will not make a significant difference in your life. And so if you do not miss it and you do not want to do it, the answer is obvious for yourself, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Yes, but it's always nice to hear it from someone else that what you are thinking is probably in your own best interest. Maybe it is time for you to retire fully. Maybe you do want to keep that 2 to 3 hours a week, because then you can continue to acquire unemployment for a period of time. It is up to you to make that decision. If it is a financial one, you need the extra money, then a little bit of employment and continued unemployment will serve you well. But if you do not need the finances, you don't miss doing the work, you are enjoying the things you are doing now, there is no reason for you to seek to take such an offer. Do not feel obliged just because you have done this job in the past. It is easy. It will make it easier for the people that you will be working for, because it is really about what you want, not other people. And there does come an important time in life to always consider what makes you happiest. For that is the aim and goal of life. What makes you happiest? How to create a wonderful life for yourself in which you experience peace and harmony and joy and self-fulfillment in the work. For I think from your voice that you would not find much self-fulfillment or much joy in this work, for it has decayed to the point of work and all that that implies.
You're right. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Are there other questions?
Hi, this is Isabel, and I have a question about a medical procedure.
Yes, if you would like.
So I have a condition in my eyes called keratoconus, and I need cataract surgery, but before they even attempt the cataract surgery, they have to do a first procedure where they go in and try to smooth out the cornea, then do the cataract, and depending on how successful it is, I might need the third surgery, which is cross-linking associated with the keratoconus. This is a very long process because there's a lot of healing in between procedures, which means that I will not be able to wear my contact lenses for a whole year. And I do have eyeglasses, but I cannot drive with my glasses, and they're really just to walk around the house. I can't really function outside of the house with my glasses, which creates a huge burden for me for a whole year. But besides that burden, I'm mostly concerned what are the chances of these procedures being successful? The doctors that I've spoken to, they don't really tell you much, they give you percentage, they give you statistics that, chances are that it's going to be successful, but we'll see. It all depends on the healing. And it's really, I'm scared. It's my eyes. And aside from taking very long, it's a risky procedure for my particular case because of the keratoconus. So I was wondering if you could shed some light and maybe give me some advice.
Well, I can probably not shed any real light upon the surgeries themselves, but I may be able to be of assistance to help you in thinking about what you need to consider in order to make the decision for yourself. And so the most important thing to consider is the condition of your eyesight at this time. So you currently wear contact lenses. You do have glasses, but for some reason, you do not find your glasses satisfactory, which tells me that you probably need to order and purchase new glasses that are custom made to help you as much as they can. Perhaps you are wearing those over-the-counter kind, which mostly help you, but do not, mostly just magnify the print and what you see in such a way that makes it more legible for yourself. But that is why it does not help you to drive, because then it is not the right sight for your driving. So you have to look at what you're dealing with right now. Can you do everything that you want to do? Is your lack or your impairment in your eyesight causing you great difficulty and unhappiness at this point in time? If that is the case, you may not want to go ahead and take a chance on surgery, because as you say, you will be further impaired for a period of about a year, since each surgery that you will have to go through will take a period of time to recover from. And there is, I believe you have indicated, and it is statistically a successful procedure, but there is always the statistical flip side of that, which says in a minor number of cases, it is not successful. And so your only question to the doctor can be, with his opinion of the condition of your eyesight at this time, that does he think that it will be successful for you? Because he does have a track record, he does have experience with this, he can give you at least a slight reassurance that it will probably be successful for you. Now, if you are unhappy with the way you are seeing at this time, but not limited very much, you may just wish to delay the situation, unless delaying it will make the statistical probability of success even less. So you need to consider that aspect of it. All things given, it is really, it is a decision that you will have to think about, but it really amounts to how much are your eyesight, or is your, I do not know how to grammatically state about dual eyes and a single illness. It is confusing to me. So you need to look into that. Are you handicapped enough now that you can't get too much more handicapped? Because that is the real crux of your question.
Can they do one eye at a time?
Mm. And Robert, who was in the room, said, can they do one eye at a time?
Oh,
So
this would be one eye at a time.
So that is why you are looking at a full year or longer with healing in between each one. So as a result, you will have an idea with one eye how well you will be able to succeed, because you will see whether your eyesight is improving or not. So therefore, you have a measurement by which you will know that it is good for two eyes in order to proceed. Do you understand what I'm trying to convey? I'm not doing
I do, yes.
But you really have to evaluate your eyesight now and feel confident as you go into the surgery that everything will be fine. And you cannot dwell on the possible poor results of surgery. One of the most important ways in which we shape the world in which we live is through our ideas and our thoughts. If you are constantly thinking about a negative thing, you begin to attract that negative thing or negativity toward yourself. If you are thinking optimistically, you are setting the road and setting the pathway to that optimistic result that you desire. So it is very important, if you decide to go into this, that you know inside your head, inside your heart, that this is going to be a successful surgery for yourself. And of course, you will follow the doctor's instructions as best you can. And you might look into getting at better glasses for yourself, so that when one eye is impaired, the other eye has the best possible help in seeing things clearly, which can be achieved by a properly made pair of glasses for that eye. So that is my suggestion. I hope these thoughts help you to make your own decision. In the long run, you will probably decide that you need to do this. Not that I wish to make a prediction for you, but since it is a deteriorating condition, you will reach a point where it does not matter. You must have it done so that you can maintain the eyesight that you have and improve it, which is what your goal and your aim is. And through the operations, one eye at a time, you will get a good judge of how well it will work. And even when one eye is much improved, you may be happy to wait for a little while. But you may also be encouraged to hurry so the other eye will have equally good vision. But that is my suggestion for yourself.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Are there other questions that anyone would like to ask?
There must be.
There must be other questions, or else it will be an early evening for us. Unless perhaps you would like me to go on speak about another topic.
Try another topic.
All right, I have been encouraged to try another topic. But I would like to go on with what was originally discussed with Isabel when we were speaking about how you create. You see, every moment of your life, you are creating because you are making, whether you know it or not, hundreds of decisions in every hour. You decide what you will pay attention to with your ears, with your eyes, with your nose, all your senses. You direct your attention to one sense or another. When you have a need to enhance your feeling, all you need to do is direct your attention to your fingertips. You may even close your eyes because that shuts off part of your brain power to the eyesight sense, and it fine-tunes and boosts your sense of touch so that you may be able to notice subtle differences that you cannot notice when your eyes are open. The same happens when you are trying to hear something. Your eyes will glaze and you will not be paying attention to what you're seeing, but you will be listening intently for a small sound perhaps, or something in a distance that you have heard and trying to identify it. So you do not consciously make these decisions. They are all done on an unconscious level. But it is still a decision. Which sense are you using to its greatest extent at that moment in time? If there was a smell of something burning, you probably would become acutely aware of your sense of smell. Where is that smell coming from? Is it food on my stove? Is it someone who has a cigarette? Is it something happening in the next room? Is there a fire starting? What is that source of that smell? And all your attention is going to the sense of smell. And likewise, in every moment of every day, you are making other decisions. When you are driving a car, you make these decisions almost unconsciously, but you are looking at other cars and you are making a judgment, a decision. How fast is that car coming? Is he on the right side of the road? Is he coming at me? Is he behind me? You are looking at those decisions. Is he going to turn? I have to turn. Do I have time to turn in front of him? These are decisions that you make in every day. And you do not consciously pay attention to your decision to pay attention to one thing over another thing at every point in time. And your mind has its own set of priorities, utilizing these senses and paying attention to this, that, and the other thing, or the things that you want to pay attention to. Sometimes you're not paying attention to anything that you are doing and thinking instead about some other subject. You're in a different place in your mind. I am bringing these things up to you so that you are aware of the fact that you make many decisions in every day. And the things you pay attention to, some of those are directed by past habit, as well as past experiences, and also programming by your parents, your teachers, You have been taught to pay attention to certain things and ignore other things for them. They are not considered important. When having a conversation with someone, perhaps you pay close attention to the expressions on their face, while someone else may be paying close attention to their exact choice of words. And depending upon what you have been trained to do, you will either pay attention to their expressions and their body language, as well as the words they are saying, or place more emphasis on the words. And perhaps you will not pay attention at all because it's not something you want to think about, you're not interested in. You see, these are all decisions that you make in your life, which affect the world that you see. If you go outside and you see that it is a rainy day, and all you're thinking is, it has spoiled my picnic or what I wanted to do today, or now I will get wet. Your view of that day is influenced by that judgment. If your observation of the rain was good, the grass needs the rain and my garden flowers need rain desperately. I am so happy it's raining. It's a whole different day than when you decide that the rain has spoiled your day. Rain can be good or bad. It's up to you to decide how you look at it. And of course, the person standing next to you, your best friend, your child, your spouse, these people have a different opinion on a rainy day. So these are all judgments that you make. So when you go out into your day and you make that judgment that it's a great day, the temperature is perfect, you love the blue sky, or you're happy that it's raining, you set the tone for your day. That day is a better day if you can be happy over what you observe and what you experience. When you have a fear of something, if you keep thinking about that fear, you are going to cause yourself tension. You are going to cause yourself to be on edge because you will be always waiting for the manifestation of that fear because it is something you think about. And, excuse me, there is something wrong with the voice. Hopefully that is better. Well, I will just keep talking through it.
Do you want some water?
No, thank you. It will pass, I am certain. At any rate, just like this difficulty that I am having with the medium's voice, so it is that if I pay attention to it, this can be distracting in what I am speaking to you. But if I continue to speak, undoubtedly this will go away. If I continue to focus on it, it will simply prove to be an obstacle to me. So this is an opportunity for me to demonstrate exactly what I am speaking about. So when you consider the possibilities in your life and you always think about that which you do not want to have manifest in your life, you are actually putting energy to its manifestation in your life. And it is much better for you to think about exactly what you want to manifest in your life. So when we are speaking about the surgery, eye surgery, which is difficult because your sight is often a primary sense for almost everyone on the earth plane, that to lose your sight is a great handicap. It makes you more dependent on people, and so you feel a lack of empowerment. However, for those who have never had sight, they have always had to depend on other people for some help with sighted things, and depended upon other things for help, such as seeing eye dogs and other animals that may be of service to them. We call them service animals. For people who cannot hear, there are service animals. And you must depend upon others to be aware of your inability to either see or hear probably, but this brings you different things in your life. For when you cannot see or you cannot hear, the other sense is enhanced, and you will be able to, when you are not hearing, you should be able to be acutely aware of more things that you see and what is going on in your life. You develop extrasensory perceptions that may, your sense of feeling. And so you will begin to know. And similarly, when you cannot see, your sense of hearing increases, which then allows you to hear many different things, which tell you a lot about the environment that is around you. But it is scary to think of losing any of your senses. But when you do not have one, other things come to you instead. Perhaps you will gain new friends and new helpers in your life. You will learn new skills, whether it is a way of lip reading because you cannot hear, or whether it is the ability to hear where things are in a room, just because your sense of hearing is so acute that you can sense the different objects in different places and be aware of them to some extent or another. Your memory for spatial relations will improve. There is nothing that is taken away from you in which something else is not given or gained. For it is always said, when a door closes, another one opens. And so that attitude and that understanding is one which will help you throughout your life to remember that what you think about, if it is good for yourself, if you are anticipating things that are good, you will tend to see those things that are good. If you are anticipating things to be bad for yourself, you will certainly notice every way in which things are not as good as they could be, the ways in which things are bad. And what happens when you start noticing how everything is bad for yourself? You notice every little thing. That just increases your awareness of bad things. If you can overlook things that are not as good as other things, you can find more peace and harmony and tranquility in your life, because you gain the habit of looking at things in optimistic ways and knowing that something good will always come of every situation. And so you begin to feel better about your life in general. Where if you were considering about all the possible things that go wrong, you will live in fear, create more stress and tension for yourself, and you will notice every little thing that you feel is bringing you in that downward path. And so, whatever you think about, you attract to yourself. Choose to think of optimistic thoughts. Choose to think of happy things. Choose to say, this makes me happy, what I see. I feel happy over this circumstance. Make that decision over as many things as you can, as often as you can, in every day. And you will notice your sense of well-being, your sense of happiness increases. And that is what you want to see and have in your life. Now, are there other questions anyone has thought of?
Yeah, I got one that involves you to a degree. You know, we're moving, so I'm busy going through boxes and boxes of stuff. And I haven't even started these boxes of stuff, but I have many, many years worth of Ron Carr recordings on tape that go back 20 years, as well as more current. And I have stuff, of course, on my computer. I don't want to throw them away. To me, they're too valuable. I was just wondering, I know the answer is if I categorize and catalog and do a whole bunch of work, which could take years really to do it right. Do you think that these recordings will ever be appreciated by anyone in the future?
Well, that is a distinct probability, but as you have said, You know, a lot depends upon the amount of work you put in it and how you sculpt and you modify the raw material that you have and put it into a coherent way of being. There are many different ways of tackling such a project, and it is something that you probably will do later on in life.
Oh, boy.
Not now.
That's a big project. Could be a big project.
Yes, it could be a big project, but you have many musical projects having to do with sound and music. And you know, at some point in time, many of these projects will simply come to an end where music is concerned because of circumstances in your life and changes that happen. And as a result, you may find yourself with freedom and a desire to look at these things, these old recordings you have of my speaking and others speaking, and choose to put them into some format that may help others.
Yes, because, well, right now we have lots and lots of boxes of Jerry Catano's writings, which he gave to us because he figured that we were his best shot at preserving that knowledge.
Actually, they are not boxes and boxes of his writings.
Well, whatever it is.
Some of these are boxes of classic writings on spiritualist subjects.
Right, well, it's the same thing. And I know that Norma and I haven't had any time to even look at them, or I know I don't really have a desire to look at them myself.
He wished to donate them to the Institute.
That's a good question, but is there anyone even there that knows what this stuff is about? You know, I mean, not about, but I don't.
There are very many who would recognize them. The question, of course, is would anyone want to read them, because they are older writings of spiritually developed people.
Well, that's all good, because truth is truth. It just, there's so many outlets today for knowledge. It's like, you know, it's kind of like, I look at it like music in a way. Music is fun when you play it and when people listen to it when you're with them. But there's only so much music that really gets preserved over the years, because there's too much music being made. People don't want to go back and just listen to the old stuff. They want to experience it fresh.
You are correct in what is you are inferring in your speaking. If you decide to take on this project, it will be only because you want to do the project. Do you
Right.
understand
Sure,
what
it
I
would
am
just
saying?
be- it would
In
just
which
be-
case,
it
it
would
would be enjoyable for yourself,
Right.
and you will do it. But how many people will listen to it? Who knows? It is not important. For as you have just indicated, spirit always comes in many different ways, through many different mediums, with the truth. And the truth as it best can be conveyed or known through the medium in which the person speaks. And so it may not be heard and understood by others. Much older books already say the things that I come to tell you. Some awarenesses have changed because science has grown, and you have a greater understanding of scientific achievement and science and how the world works. And so questions that people asked 100 years ago, when they did not understand about the atomic theory and have it known in its fullness. So because you have created an atomic bomb, knowing all the things that have come to the fore since that time, that science has brought and developed, and even the way in which I am speaking to you in this evening, how this would have been considered to be a miracle and would never have been understood or used in the past. And so much of what was channeled and brought forth may be erroneous by today's understanding. such as the cures of Edgar Cayce. But the fact of the matter is, some of his cures still work today. And while we have better cures in some areas, and better understanding of what causes disease, and many cures for other diseases than he could even have thought of, much more effective things are present in your world than in his world. Does that make his channeling wrong? Is it useless? It helped many people in many ways and did not harm people. And so it was beneficial for themselves. As science and understanding increased and knowledge and wisdom increased, you come to know new things, and you have different questions and different challenges. So thoughts and channeling from the past can still be helpful in many different ways, even though in some ways there may be inaccuracies, but the basic truth was always there to be conveyed, and conveyed again when it came another 20 or 30 years later, and conveyed again with a different medium, and conveyed again through someone else. Always using the words, different understandings, different clarity. There are many sources which hold the truth to some degree or another, because all sources have come to bring enlightenment and help.
What is science? What is science?
Science, there is a question here, what is science?
Yes.
Science is simply the study and the understanding of how the physical world works. And notice that I say the physical world, for there is more to this creation than just the physical world, as everyone who is on this call, this meeting, knows. Are there other questions?
The science have wisdom from the source, from God.
Many times science has the understanding from God. For people who were wanting to understand what makes a piece of wood different from a piece of rock or a piece of iron. Why does a piece of iron helpful in doing other things, and how to make metals or how to create cures for things? These are all helpful, and it is information that has come inspired into someone's life and into someone's mind to pursue, to think about, and to understand, so that greater things could be accomplished.
The science make mistakes.
Yeah, it is a process. It is a process, so that mistakes can be made by science until somebody discovers the proper truth. For there have been many things that have been thought that are wrong by science. Some things it does not matter whether you believe correctly or you understood correctly, because it is not something that you may be using at this point in time. Are there other questions?
Yeah, well, speaking of science, and you were talking about discoveries with regard to this coronavirus, do you see, President Trump and others are thinking that there will be a vaccine or some type of treatment before the end of the year? Do you see that to be happening?
Many things are happening along that line. Part of it is somewhat a political situation, so that not everything is being treated the same. And depending upon the attitude of certain individuals who have some power in your health departments, things are being observed, things are being attested, and are being judged. sometimes people are being extremely harsh in their judgments and not allowing things to proceed and go forward as possible cures or helps to be to help people overcome the virus. And other times, different things are being advocated and pursued. But as everyone is focusing on the creation of a vaccine or cure, and even medications to help cure, eventually all these things will come about. And it will not be too long because there is too much pressure to find the cure or the vaccine.
So you think we'll be making progress fairly quickly once this gets rolling?
Well, you are already making progress.
Yes.
You are already making progress. You have made great progress over the since the very beginning when people were first becoming ill. For most people were dying when they came down with it. The older people, they were making their transitions. But now it is not, most people are surviving. They are not dying. They are not transitioning. They are merely sick for a period of time. And it is not the death sentence that it was to come down with the virus. Similar to cancer. Cancer was always a death sentence in the past. But these days, well, it may be a death sentence, but there are many, many, many people who are recovering from the cancer for at least a period of time, sometimes 5, 10, 15 years before something else comes along and causes transition. Are there other questions?
Yes, Ronka. My sister would have liked to join us, but she's probably asleep because they're in a totally different time zone. She was having problems with her daughter, and she just wanted to know if you could give her some advice.
Well, it is difficult to give advice. Would you give me her daughter's name and perhaps her name? I may be able to find out something there, but if you could give me a little bit of the nature of the difficulty, I will be able to be of more service after you give me the name.
My sister's name is Maggie, Margaret, and she's in Kenya, and her daughter is Naomi.
And the daughter is also in Kenya.
Yes, it's also in Kenya. And her daughter is just moving from being a teenager to being in her 20s, and she is out of control, basically. Like they tend to be, but maybe a little bit more so. Maybe drugs are involved, and she doesn't know which ones, and she doesn't know how to help her or herself.
There is the problem. She does not know how to help her. And I'm sorry, but the mother, Negi was her name?
Yes, Maggie.
Maggie. That Maggie cannot help her daughter because the daughter does not want help. Do you understand that situation? The daughter thinks that she is an adult. She should be able to do anything she wants to. She is quite fearless and independent, which is a tribute to the way she was brought up and personal part of her personality. But like many people in the ancient age of 20-something, they still have a lot to learn and do not realize that. For there is a certain clarity of vision that is available to the young, which sometimes makes it seem like they are quite intelligent and know and understand more than they really do, because they are so clear in their vision, because they have not experienced the difficulties. What Maggie should do for her daughter is probably to let her go with arms wide, and to express that she is worried to her daughter that some of her actions might be harmful to herself in the long run, but that she loves her, and that if she needs help, that Maggie will always be there for her. And to please consider, and that she loves her daughter, that she loves her, and that for her peace of mind, it is important for Naomi to make contact regularly. But otherwise, she is in charge of her own life, and to give her the opportunity to support herself financially. Do not try and support her if she is not doing or listening to what the mom wants, the Maggie wants. If she wants to be independent and on her own, then by all means, she must be independent and on her own. And that she needs to work, she needs to earn her money, she needs to find her own place to live, and that Maggie tells her that she hopes she makes great decisions for herself and creates a wonderful life for herself. And this is what she wants. And to please keep in touch. That she needs to hear from her daughter once a week at least, to stop in and see me and tell me that you are doing well. So that makes me not miss you so much. Do you understand? So
Yes.
the mom Maggie needs simply to ask if her daughter will be sympathetic toward her needs and keeping in touch and letting her know how her life is going. And that she should come to her mother if she ever really needed help in any way. That is what is best, because the child is no longer a child. She is an adult and really responsible for her own life. So Maggie needs to let go and to merely ask that her daughter keep in touch, to remember to come home for holidays, perhaps once a week for dinner, or once every 2 weeks, or once a month, whatever is most comfortable for Naomi. And to keep her mother informed so her mother isn't worried about her. And that way, it will be the best way to handle the situation. Maggie will still worry to some extent or another, but she must always finish a worrying thought with the positive statement that Naomi will be fine, that her best inner qualities will come forward, that she will take care of herself, and she will be successful in her life. And so we follow up the worry with all the affirmations that are good for her. That erases the worry from the universe, and hopefully she will get through the temporary period. As you have mentioned, that young people in their 20s, newly adults in charge of their lives, want to feel as if they are what they think they are.
Yep. Okay.
So,
Thank-
let me ask you about, in this related thing. I surround myself and I surround people I love with the white light all the time for protection. That would be something that she could do, correct? That's a good
Yes,
practice.
did everyone online hear that? Bob suggested that what he does is that he surrounds these people with the white light and knows that they are protected. And so we asked if this is a good thing to do. Yes, certainly, by all means.
So that really
Maggie?
is something that she could do and feel active about doing something without interfering per se.
Could you hear that?
I heard. Thank you.
Okay, so if she gets up every morning and she surrounds her daughter with the white light and knows that she is protected, happy, well, successful, and making only good decisions on her own behalf, that is an active thought she can put out into the universe, which may help Naomi.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Are there other questions? It is a very quiet night.
Well, there's only not too many people here. We did send out the notifications.
So perhaps we shall just close early. Well, I will say goodnight, but Juana will come in. And if you have other questions, maybe you want to ask of Juana that are not of a serious nature, because she doesn't like serious questions.
Before you go, Ronka,
Yes?
with all that's been happening with Trump and the elections, do you think there'll actually be a result on election night?
Oh, that is a very good question. You know that the result that will be there on election night will be tentative because they will not be finished counting the votes.
Yeah.
How long do you think it's going to last? Are we talking days, weeks, or months, or years?
No, I think it will only last a couple of weeks, perhaps two weeks before there is a final count on these votes, simply because that is just the way it is. But you have had other elections like this. It is very possible, and I do not want to influence anyone's decisions or how they act in any way, that if there is an overwhelming vote, which is obvious in one direction, that you will know who the winner is, even though they have not finished counting the votes. And it will not be possible to overcome that winner, because there simply won't be enough votes outstanding. But you will not get a final total for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, in the beginning of the year, Kathy Kirsten said that she didn't know who was going to win, but whoever will win will be by a significant majority. Do you see that as well?
I'm not going to comment on that.
No comment.
Because Kathy was forecasting from astrology.
Yes.
And I will not make a comment.
Okay.
It must move forward in its own way. And it does not be appropriate for me to comment on this at this time.
You give prediction for New Year, for this year. If this prediction, what you give, is stable, then doesn't change.
I'm sorry, I do not understand your question.
You give prediction
That
for
the
this
predictions I made in January.
Yes, and if this prediction is the same stable like you.
They were personal predictions for individuals.
Yes, and you give prediction for country also. If prediction is
there were predictions
stable.
About stock market.
Not only. You give prediction for everything.
I'm sorry. I've made my predictions, and we will just assume that you will discover whether I was correct or not.
Yes, they will be correct, everything.
During this time when they're trying to determine who the outcome of the election is, will the violence continue? That is so concerning to me, that people are being murdered left and right and shot, and we have the fires out of control. It's almost biblical in nature to watch these things. And I was just wondering, would they calm down, or is it going to just continue until the resolution of the counting of the votes?
I do not like to be disappointing, but it is extremely probable that nothing will calm down to any great degree. Perhaps you have already seen the worst of the violence, but there will continue to be difficulties because changes must be made in order to stop this violence and these actions. Changes in people's attitudes, who will now decide that it is intolerable to let these things continue for any reason at all. Much of that will be determined by the citizens who are voting. It is important to remember that certain votes will continue. There will be more violence because there are people who you may vote for who really don't want it to end because they have other agendas in their life and in their mind and where they think this country should be. And so it is going to be up to the people to make their unhappiness over the situations known to the individual mayors of towns, to the governors of states, that they do not believe their behavior is acceptable and the police should not be tolerating these kinds of behaviors, and neither should those who are in charge. Because like a spoiled child having a temper tantrum, if you give in to the temper tantrum, the child continues to make temper tantrums because he thinks that he will get his way. And in this case, if more and more people decide to have temper tantrums, if more and more people decide to disobey laws, to act unlawfully in their worst possible manners and ways, that is the statement. It is up to individuals, every individual in the country, to take a stand and determine what they feel is acceptable behavior. For when one finds a mob turned against them for their bad behavior, they will cease their behavior. If everyone is quiet and they are able to influence others to join them on their side in bad behavior, then those who condemn the behavior will eventually be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It is a simple decision that everyone must consider in voting for at this time of year. For every representative is up for a vote. And the attitudes of Congress has been determined by its current balance of people that is in there, from those who are hoping to make great changes and maybe change this country completely from the way it is into something else. If these people are reelected, if more people who think like them are reelected, it may even happen. So it is up to everyone to think carefully about the political situation and what they want to see. Not to be swayed, as I said earlier, by emotions. How do you feel? Are you looking for justice? How does it affect people when people are allowed to misbehave and behave badly with no punishment? How does that affect people in their own actions? People tend to think, if they could do it, I can do it too. And they may join for different purposes and seek to cause difficulties for different reasons. But it brings about chaos in your country. So it is important that people consider where they want this country to go and think about what behaviors have brought about this situation to what it was. Not the ones that people say, that it was the police that made people act badly when the police were there to stop people acting badly but were not permitted to do anything. Just because one policeman did something badly, does that allow 100 people to act badly? What is right about that? Since when did 2 wrongs make a right? Or 100 wrongs make something right? Nothing. Nothing will come out of bad actions except bad results. And that is what is important for you to know and remember about your own behaviors in your own life. If you behave badly, you will have bad results. If you allow others to influence you to behave badly, you will have bad results. You must think for yourself about what is good for you and what is good for the country. Not listening to the rhetoric, the words that don't make sense. It's illogical to say that a riot is a good response to having a person killed. One man's death. And then other people, so many people were hurt in that riot. In all the riots that have been happening, there has been bad behavior. And yet, it is not being condemned by some. And so think about that when you go to vote for those that you are voting for. Are they encouraging or condemning the bad behaviors that you see?
If people recognize that the Democratic Party work against the people.
So your question, is your question
If
that
all people recognize that
do people recognize that the Democratic Party works against them?
against the people, yes?
No,
They don't
not
recognize.
everyone recognizes that. Not everyone feels that way. And some of them are ignoring some of the things that are happening, which may or may not be able to be blamed on the Democratic Party, but they believe that there have been people that have been hurt. And so that justifies the hurting of other people. They apparently believe that 2 wrong actions make something right.
But they recognize they want to change the socialism, the Democratic Party is socialism, and Marxist, the Communist Party.
Some of them do. Some of them believe that is the best way for things to be. That everybody be treated
Destroy
the same.
country, America. Very nice.
Yes, they have been poorly educated
That's right.
and are unaware. For there are always idealists who paint a picture which say, this is how a utopia would be if everyone would act in this way, if this is how all people were treated, and everyone was absolutely equal in every way. And they fail to see that they would not like to be treated the same way everyone else is treated. That everyone wants to have their own, to be allowed to act as they want to act, to be allowed to want what they want, to be allowed to do what they want to do, and not be restricted in any way. And they do not realize that if you start restricting, you begin restricting everyone in all ways. It only grows in restriction and brings about despotic behavior among those who are in power, because power corrupts, and power, you have heard the quotes already. Power corrupts perfectly. Are there other questions? Then I think it is time for me to say goodnight. I give you all my blessings. Good night.
Good night, thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Hi, I'm back. It's Juana. Everybody who's
Hi.
there? Anybody
Yeah,
gonna
hi,
question me?
Hi, Juana.
Well, hi to everybody. Okay, nobody has a question for me. So remember, I love you all. Good night.
Good night.